First of all, Bitcoin shines a light on real estate's like actual utility. And the fact that it's been heavily financialized and it is used as a form of money. And it's used as a form of money because the currency that we're told to use, the dollar, the euro, the yen, the RMB, they don't store value. And so when you're able to start studying this thing, Bitcoin, and you come across Austrian economics and you come across the phrase sound money, like, oh, hang on, what do you mean there's a money that stores value? That's not money, mate. It's like, well, actually, look at the different characteristics of money, divisibility, durability, etc. And then look at the actual features of money, unit of account, store of value, medium of exchange. The Austrian school has been very, very clear on what it believes sound money to be for a long time. It's suddenly this whole new lens on the world. It's like, well, hang on, sorry. So you mean I could just buy this stuff and it sits in self-custody? There's no OPEX. There's no management time required. It gains in purchasing power over time. I can send it whenever I want. I can receive whenever I want. And it's a savings technology. So in some ways, it's not even an investment. It's not, you're not taking as much risk. It's like it's this, well, to use cheat codes kind of framing, it's a cheat code on life. And so when that option appears, which I still believe hasn't happened to the vast majority of people, they haven't drawn the dots together in this significant a way. It's like, hang on, so if I sell my land and I put it all in Bitcoin, the capital growth is faster. There's no management time required. And actually, I get my time back. It's a very different discussion, right? And what it really means is you value your time differently. To tee up the next phase of this, then, as you're able to, let's say, shed a skin to evolve, what might you like to do with your time? Like, you still have a skill set in that area. Do you think you will continue to use that in some way, or are you going in a completely different direction?
Good question. Just to sum up, when I bought this land, I was also going down my Bitcoin, phase, circa 2020. I think I arrived here 2022, so I'd already bought some Bitcoin and I was passionate about it. Fast forward 3 years, my strategy was always I buy the land that I want. I had a certain amount of capital and I had to take a mortgage to purchase this. I didn't want to, but I did, based on the thesis that I thought Bitcoin would appreciate and I'd use the Bitcoin appreciation to pay off the farm, right? That was my thesis. 3 years later, I've changed. I'm a lot further down in my research. And now I'm the man that goes, I don't actually want to sell my Bitcoin to buy the farm. That's where I'm at.
Wow. And so why wouldn't you actually leverage up more? So let's say a simple example, you've got $1 million property and you have a 50% mortgage on that property. The price of that land or house may have gone up in the last 3 years. So say it's now worth 1.5. This is a pure example. You've only got a 500 grand mortgage on it. Rather than sell the whole thing and put the $1 million into Bitcoin, you could actually remortgage potentially and get a 80% mortgage on a property, get out your 500, 600, 700 grand and buy Bitcoin with that and use Bitcoin to pay the interest.
Yeah. That is a strategy I actually don't mind. It's not personally something that I would choose to do based on the fact that I'm single, I have no children. I don't necessarily have these more really defining elements that would locate someone somewhere and actually really drive home this kind of, this thesis of this is where we're landing, this is what we're going to do. I could see a world where that would be a fine strategy, but for me, I probably am more risk adverse to the greater property marketplace. So for me, my lens is a mortgage is an equation to some amount of weight and responsibility. So when I live with a mortgage or when I don't live with a mortgage, I'm somebody that's willing to say there's a visceral difference in my life. When I live with a mortgage, there's a burden of responsibility that comes with that.
It's a commitment to others.
It is. Yeah. It is. And it's not nothing. And I think so many people just gloss over the fact, oh, I have a mortgage. Oh, I don't have a mortgage. It's something that you have to wake up every day and figure out how you're going to meet. And so I have come to be a person that respects the fact that when I have debt, that the cost of that, the cost of carrying that, the cost of waking up every day, there's something to that, right? And so I've often wondered for my friends with kids and, my siblings and there's a different motivation sometimes to sort of like pave a way. And I've often wondered, would my decisions change if I had children or those sorts of things driving those decisions? But I don't. And therefore my time preference and all of those questions, I think I weigh up very differently. And my choice to not say reverse mortgage or pull out equity to buy Bitcoin is because ultimately I believe that the debt game is going to not pay off sometime. And so for me, when I cast out 5, 10, 15 years, I'm not comfortable to be positioned heavily with a mortgage that I'm speculating with, so to speak. So if I don't have the income or if I don't have the business to really sort of see light at the end of the tunnel of paying that mortgage out, I kind of feel like that's a gamble I'm not willing to take, especially because I also have equity in real time available to me now that I can realize by selling the property rather than loaning. And I can put that equity to work, potentially by buying Bitcoin, potentially by doing other things. But I guess my choice is to be more conservative because I think the opportunity to invest in something like Bitcoin for me is almost, it is a bit, for me, it's become more of a consciousness revolution than it is about like you said, an investment. But I do believe that the protecting of my capital in Bitcoin far outweighs the risk of owning property.
Yeah, and I'm completely in agreement with you there. I also love the simple fact, like it's horses for courses. Every independent actor is willing to make the choice that's available to them, and it's their decision. And
that's right.
Everyone has a different set of factors involved, and that's one of the reasons why the fact that like value is subjective, right? That simple truth. Like every single person thinks about things differently, and that's okay. And it's just fascinating to me listening to how you think these things through. I guess it's quite fun to work this through where I'm sat, which is with 3 kids under the age of 5, and my wife and I spend an inordinate amount of time, and what's now been 3 years since we've not owned any real estate, thinking about where we're going to live and dealing with landlords and figuring out leases. And it's been very stressful, to say the least.
Yeah.
And as of right now, I've got a removals truck coming next week that's packing the house up, and we don't know where we're going to live. So it's like, it's come right down to the wire. We haven't found another 12-month lease unfurnished. So we'll go into some kind of Airbnb short term whilst we wait to find the right thing. So I'm becoming a more and more motivated buyer of real estate.
Yeah.
But as an investor, I'm very conscious of, I don't want to be the desperate guy buying the house that I don't actually want. And I also don't want to go and compromise. I don't want to buy it in a location that I actually don't want to be in. And I don't want to buy of a quality that I don't actually want. And what I'd love to do is build. But if you build, it's going to take 2 years, probably 3 or 4. So that's like another 3 years. It's like, we might not even want to live in this part of the world in 3 years' time. Who knows? So there's a lot of things that I'm trying to figure out. But just generally speaking, I would take Bitcoin and self-custody over a leveraged piece of real estate with like a 25% equity position. Every day of the week, I would go Bitcoin. And that's for the capital upside. And that's also for the counterparty risk.